подвір'ю. За твою Марічкою, гоп, щі-ді-ді-ді, всі легіні б'юся. Бо за твою Марічкою, гоп, щі-ді-ді-ді, всі легіні б'юся. Гоп, щі-ді-ді-ді, Марічкою б'юся. Гоп, щі-ді-ді-ді, Марічкою б'юся. П'яття другі не любили, гоп, щі-ді-ді-ді, бо порубаюся. П'яття другі не любили, гоп, щі-ді-ді, бо порубаюся.
And that was Tootie Tom from Saskatchewan with a lively tune, starting out our show from their fourth album, their most recent, and that song was called Hop Shidiridi. Добрий день, шановні радіослухачі, та вітаю вас всіх на радіопрограму «Наш Холос» радіо українського коріння, яка подається вам сьогодні, так як і кожній середи з 11 до 13 години на хвилі CHLY 101.7 FM у місті Nanaimo. При мікрофоні цю годину є Павліна, а наступну годину буде з вами Оксана. Дякую, що рішили перебути з нами наступних 2 годин. Ми маємо дуже цікаві новини на сьогоднішній програмі. Hello there and welcome to Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio, coming to you on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo. I'm Paula Demchik-McCrory, Pokrinske Pavlina, and I'm your host for this first hour. Oksana will be along at 12 noon to host the show in Ukrainian. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great program lined up for you. In this hour, we've got Ukrainian Jewish heritage and part 2 of our interview with Alti Rodal, co-director of Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, our sponsor, and she'll be telling us more about that fabulous museum exhibit that opened in Ukraine late May of this year. As well, we've got a couple of items from our audio archives, which are pretty much evergreen, from Rushnichok as well as from Victor's Vignettes. So stay tuned for all of that. We've also got our usual proverb of the week, other items of interest, and great Ukrainian music. And coming up next, keep your dancing boots laced up. You'll need it for this number by Sluhai from Winnipeg. And a traditional Ukrainian folk song, kind of a lament, but not really. It's humorous folk song. Mał raz dziewczynonku, Once I Had a Girl.
Hey, hey, ha, hu, ha, ha, дівчино, рибчино, молода. Чупроненку, любиш тебе тушечку рум'яненку. Гей, гей, ха, ха, дівчина, рибчина, молода. Гей, гей, ха, дівчина, рибчина, молода. По славі старості в неділю, дома погуляймо на весіллю. Гей, гей, ха, дівчина, рибчина, молода. Молода. Ciceri, roșeșe me cuceri, roșeșe me cuceri.
Jakby tobie czesala, jakby mamka nie znała, jakby mamka nie znała, mamka буде дивити, я ся буду ганьбити, я ся буду ганьбити.
Заріж мені когутя, заріж мені когутя.
And an American Ukrainian group called Kurinya with a traditional Ukrainian folk song about the ubiquitous Marichka. And now for a look at Ukraine's rich Jewish heritage, then and now, brought to you by the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter based in Toronto, Ontario. This is Pavlina, producer and host of Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio. Alti Rodal is co-director of the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, a Toronto-based nonprofit organization which has sponsored the series Ukrainian Jewish Heritage here on Nash Holos since 2013. Alti is a historian, writer, former professor of Jewish history, and an official advisor to the Government of Canada. She has been instrumental in a UJE museum exhibit entitled A Journey Through the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter from Antiquity to 1914. It launched in 2015 in Toronto and traveled to Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Montreal. This exhibit inspired several related projects, including an illustrated catalogue of the exhibit, an expanded exhibit in 2020 at the Royal Ontario Museum, and a traveling exhibit to Ukraine, which was launched in May of this year as part of the Museums in Ukraine project. Alti kindly agreed to tell us about it on her return home from the launch. In part one of our interview, she shared some of the behind-the-scenes background of the original exhibit, as well as the UJE's upcoming exhibit at the ROM. She described the interest and support of museum curators in Ukraine to display their country's Jewish heritage, and she shared some of the challenges, ideas, and inspiration behind the updated exhibit in Ukraine, renamed A Journey Through the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter from Antiquity to 1939. In part 2, Alti goes on to share details about the exhibit in Ukraine, displays, artifacts, and layout, along with some fascinating stories behind them, as well a sneak preview of UJE's future plans.
So we had in mind to do 2 videos, one of groups and then another one of individuals. And as things evolved, the space was too small for 2 videos. So we integrated the 2 together, and so we have a panorama and individual faces. And it's these individual faces that were really very stirring, from small children to elderly people, many young people with their futures before them that got short. So it's also a kind of memorial tribute.
Sure.
Yes. And to it we added music, Yiddish songs, which would likely have been popular at the time.
Nice.
And even if people don't understand the words, so I think people who know German would understand a great deal. The melodies and the sound of the language, which is sadly a dying language.
Well, in Yiddish, you said, right?
Yes, in Yiddish, all in Yiddish.
Yeah, I think that there are some attempts to, if not revive it, at least preserve it.
Like Latin.
Yeah. It'll always be there, even just as a pillar, I think, of our society.
One other element, another component of the exhibit are artifacts. And because of the fact that this room was going to be showing photographs, many of which also came from Yizkor books, memorial books,
right,
that were published mostly in Israel in Yiddish and in Hebrew in the 1950s to the 70s and 80s. These are portraits, profiles of the individual towns, and they contain many photographs, some poorer quality than others, so one had to be selective on that basis as well.
Sure.
But they also led to where one might find originals of some of these photographs. And with proper scanning, we were able to use photographs from these books as well.
Great.
And then the suggestion came forward to include a number of these Yizkor books as artifacts, because that's what they are. And these are real tributes to the communities. And they contain the histories from the Middle Ages on of the communities in these towns, and profiles of personalities who made the town and the life that was, the various organizations and their significance and what they accomplished, and special visitors who came to the towns like Ben Gurion and so on. So these were very interesting to peruse and to glean from. And of course, we don't have space for words in an exhibit of this kind, but we were able to extract some pictures and to show the actual books what they look like.
Wow.
Because these were sort of treasured way of remembering these communities. And also the museum itself, the Lviv Historical Museum, has a marvelous collection of artifacts from Galicia, so including Jewish Galicia. So we had some very evocative items from 18th century wedding bands of a particular kind, the kind that have little houses on them. They're wedding bands that are used just for the wedding, and then they're passed on to the next bride. And these are, I was very fortunate, as was my colleague Natalia Fedusha, to be able to try on these rings. And various other items, the household items, pottery, ceramics, silver filigree work, and also a number of wooden artifacts, in particular 2 wooden lions, which are quite dramatic, and they were part of the decor of the Torah Ark of the Golden Rose Synagogue. They come from a private collection, and the story that is told is that they were found after the synagogue was destroyed by a child who liked these lions and kept them in the family.
Wow.
And they were passed on, and then they were purchased by this collector. And here they are exhibited in this small exhibit in this room.
Wow.
Alongside what we have.
So who is the collector?
His name is Marko Simkin. He's a local collector.
In Lviv?
In Lviv, yes.
Wow.
So without spending a lot of time looking for artifacts, we had quite a nice little collection which brought to life the long history in Galicia through these wedding rings and other items, and the ending with these lions.
Wow. So in early December last year, I spoke with Julia Korsunski of rememberus.org, and she was all excited about a new museum that her organization was involved with. And in the process of that interview, I learned that often museums in Ukraine are small exhibits. When they say museum, it's not a big building. And you mentioned in describing your exhibit in Lviv that you didn't have a lot of space. But you mentioned also there's courtyard and balconies. So how big was it? How long does it take to get through it, for example?
Well, it depends how much time one spends. There are 18 panels with a little bit of text, so that doesn't take very long. Then there are the panels on the ground floor that have no text. You just look at the pictures. Mm-hmm. You then come into this room, and the video is now over 19 minutes. Originally, they were 2 videos,
right.
Each were 8 minutes. Mm-hmm. But we were told they were moving too fast. We had to slow them down.
Oh.
And so we did. And then because they were merged into one, it became longer. But there's a bench, and people can sit down and watch. However, I had a feeling after looking at how it's come out that you leave on a rather sad note.
Oh.
And I was thinking, what about the present? Where is the present in this? Mm-hmm. I know that we're stopping in 1939.
Right.
And it occurred to me, inspired by some comments that I received, that why not talk about what is being done now to commemorate, preserve, protect the Jewish heritage. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of the organizations that are doing this, small groups, volunteer groups. And one of them is Julia Korsunski and her group. And after I came home, after the opening, I produced 2 more panels. And they describe what is being done by organizations such as the Rohatyn Jewish Heritage Group, Marla Raucher Osborne, with the Lviv Volunteer Group, with Sasha Nazar, with the Protecting Memory Group through the American Jewish Committee 3 years ago. And they're out of the picture, but the Denkmal, the German organization for commemorating the Holocaust, has continued to put up architectural monuments at killing sites. But what they did in 2015 was remarkable and a model for what could be done. So I included all that information and also the rememberus.org in these 2 panels on a positive note that there are Jews and Ukrainians of all ages, especially young people, high school kids, who are now going around cleaning up Jewish cemeteries and repairing monuments that have been damaged in one way or another. And that is, to me, redemptive and positive and a model of what one can do now.
Indeed, and that speaks to the mandate of Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, and I think it probably embodies everything that was hoped for at the beginning. You've just celebrated your 10th anniversary. Congratulations on that. I learned from Raya that you were one of the instrumental people in actually getting the ball rolling to get the organization formed, and so you must be so pleased.
Yes, in many ways we're doing what we had planned to do 12 years ago. And in addition, we've not been inflexible when opportunities presented themselves for doing something more in one area than in another. And the museum's domain is such a domain. We have, with the experience gained in Lviv, the potential to bring content of interest to many museums, beginning in Western Ukraine, then in Central Ukraine. And it can be done on the basis of what we've already collected and done. And in each case, we are prepared to adapt and introduce local content so that it's really relevant for local people and visitors who are interested in the particular town.
So can people see little snippets of this museum on your website, or?
Yes, there is some material has already been put up. There's a very brief video of our tour in the summer of 2018 and how we prepared the way to the exhibit that was shown this May, and how it's been received. The opening reception was very successful, with the ambassador of Canada being the host of the occasion.
Oh, great.
It rained, but nonetheless, an excellent turnout and very good exchanges. We're looking to build on this, and the opportunities certainly seem to be there. And this is what we're going to be looking at in the coming months.
Great.
I may not have mentioned that the catalog won a prize following our tour of museums in Western Ukraine. We were invited to bring the catalog in Ukrainian translation to the Festival of Ukrainian Museums, which was being held in Dnipro in September of last year.
Okay.
And we came with our catalog and so on. We were encouraged to submit it for a prize. And to our surprise, it won first prize.
Congratulations.
At the museum festival, where there were about 300 museums represented.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the judges who encouraged us, he is very much interested in the bigger picture in Ukraine, in the museums world, and in working with us to bring the Jewish content to these museums in the larger cities. So any town that has over 200,000 people, where there had been a significant Jewish population before the war, merits to have a small corner in their museum dedicated to that history. And that's his view, and he's prepared to work with us on that.
Wow, isn't that fabulous? Wow.
And we also had a round table at that festival, to which we invited any museum directors who were interested in the topic. About 50 people turned up, and we went around the table to get to know each other and why they were interested. And everyone indicated this interest, and several instances of very enthusiastic interest in bringing content to their museum on the Jewish heritage.
Fabulous. That is really encouraging and exciting, and hopefully that we can be in the loop for that as it progresses, and to be able to share information on that going forward with our listeners. So thank you so much for sharing this story about the recent launch in Lviv, and hopefully we'll speak more when the Royal Ontario Museum exhibit opens. And when will that be?
Well, the scheduled opening is for early December.
Okay. That's right, to coincide with the 10th anniversary of UJE. So hopefully we can talk then and get some details on that, so people living in the area and close by can go and check it out. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you, Paulette. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the best to you. I've been speaking with Alti Rodal, co-director of the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, about the UJE's museum displays on the theme A Journey Through the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, in the second of a two-part interview. Check our website and podcast feed to hear part 1, as well as earlier interviews with Alti Rodal, and that's www.nashholos.com. You can also find them on the UJE website, ukrainianjewishencounter.org. I'm Pavlina, producer and host of Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio. I hope you've enjoyed this interview on Ukrainian Jewish heritage. Until next time, Shalom. Ukrainian Jewish Heritage is brought to you by the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, based in Toronto, Ontario. To find out more about their work, visit their website and follow them on Facebook and Twitter. Transcripts and audio files of this and earlier broadcasts of Ukrainian Jewish Heritage are available at their website, ukrainianjewishencounter.org, as well as at the Nash Holos website, www.nashholos.com. Ви слухаєте радіопрограму «Наш голос» радіо нашого коріння на радіостанції CHLY 101.7 FM у місті Nanaimo. Говорить Павліна. You're listening to Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo. Близький
вечір, наче князь корони ліхтарів. Зачудовано зоріє на замкову гору, телевежа таємничо манить вгорі. Чи про тебе, чи про мене, чи про наші зорі ти покинь, покинь протони і нейтрони теж. Відречися аж до ранку від своїх конспектів. Я давно тебе чекаю в синіх тінях веж, де сумують за тобою голубі проспекти після лекцій. Або, як кажуть, після пар кличе серце студентський уник, стрітський парк. Там я знаю, живе любов і ніжний дар. На трамваях спішить, спішить, спішить до мене по львівській вечір, наче князь корони ліхтарів. Зачудовано зоріє на замкову гору, телевежа таємничо манить вгорі. Чи про тебе, чи про мене, чи про наші зорі ти покинь, покинь протони і нейтрони теж. Відречися аж до ранку від своїх конспектів. Я давно тебе чекаю в синіх тінях веж, де сумують за тобою голубі проспекти після лекцій. Або, як кажуть, після пар кличе серце студентський уник, стрітський парк. Там я знаю, живе любов і ніжний дар. На трамваях спішить, спішить, спішить до мене по львівській вечір, наче князь корони ліхтарів. Львівський вечір, наче князь корони ліхтарів. Львівський вечір, наче князь корони ліхтарів. Львівський вечір, наче князь корони ліхтарів.
And a young Montreal group called Rosa from their CD they released a couple of summers ago now, I think. And that song was called Lvivsky Večer, Evening in Lviv.
Every day, more Ukrainian soldiers are killed or wounded by Russian invaders. You can help wounded heroes by joining the Adopt a Soldier program of registered charity Ukraine War Amps. A small monthly donation goes very far for medical services and living expenses and creates a special bond between you and a wounded hero. 100% of your contribution goes to the soldier. Please, adopt a soldier today. Visit ukrainewaramps.ca or find us on Facebook.
This is Stefan Andrusiak from Rushnechok, and you're listening to Nash Holos with host Paulette McQuarrie. Дорогі слухачі, від всіх наших членів оркестру Рушничок, великий привіт вам. Ви слухаєте радіопередачу «Наш голос».
This is Stefan Andrusiak from Rushnechok, and welcome to Rushnechok Stories, a radio segment about words and music we love. When in the spring of my youth I readied myself to go out into an uncertain world, my mother embroidered a shirt for me. The threads were red and black. Such are the opening words to Dva Kolory, a Ukrainian song about two colors. The author, Dmitro Pavlichko, was born in the foothills of the Carpathians in the late 1920s. He would turn 16 in a Soviet prison, sentenced there for a year on the suspicion of being an insurgent army operative for the UPA. But after the war, this history and linguistics graduate became a respected, published, and award-winning author, writing his own works, even translating Shakespeare. Mr. Pavlichko wrote Dva Kolory originally as a poem. It was threaded into music by renowned composer Alexander Bilash. Then it was performed, recorded, and toured by Kyiv opera soloist Dmitro Gnatyuk. Imagine existing in the Soviet Ukraine in the gray aftertaste of the Khrushchev era. Dva Kolory gave Ukrainians permission to feel. Just listen to the words. Two colors, both on one cloth, they stitch together my spirit. They are me. Red stands for love, the black for anxiety. But the song and its success also brought the KGB to its feet, and they weren't there to applaud. You see, red and black are the flag colors of the UPA, that very same underground army Pavlichko had been imprisoned for supporting as a teenager. Thinking quickly, he offered to take his interrogators to his apartment, where, in a drawer, he revealed an embroidered shirt in red and black. "It's just a song about a shirt," he said. "See, here it is." Now, great songs last because they remain relevant generation after generation, each listener discovering a new strand of meaning in it. But songwriters, especially in the Soviet Ukraine, survived because they were believable. I had the honor of meeting Mr. Pavlichko during the Canadian leg of his North American tour back in 2005. He told us this story of his dramatic release from KGB custody with cliffhanger delight, adding that his interrogators indeed had read far too much into his words. Today I hear the song and I think of Ukraine's potential of East and West intertwining with purpose, an inseparable, beautiful, lasting embroidery, blending geography and color and races, beliefs, languages, and orientations upon a lasting fabric of tolerance. But then again, it may just be a song about a shirt. Dva Kolory was recorded by the one and only Dmytro Hnatyuk, of course, then by Kvitka Sizik, by Yavir, by so many bands and singers in Canada as well. Here from iTunes is Rushnechok's version. From Rushnechok Volume 1, offering a bit of country western vibe I'm not sure the original authors imagined. The song Two Colors, Dva Kolory.
Як я малим збирався навесні піти у світ незнаними шляхами, сорочку мати вишила мені червоними і чорними, червоними і чорними нитками. Червоний
Welcome to Victor's Vignettes, stories about life in Soviet and post-Soviet Ukraine by Viktor Sergeyev of Mykolaiv, Ukraine. I am Serhiy Kaznady in Toronto. During my teenage years, I watched many Hollywood-style movies based on Fenimore Cooper's novels with cowboys and Indians. The movies were made by Deutsche Film Aktiengesellschaft or Studio DEFA, the state-owned monopoly for film production in communist East Germany. The movie scripts were based on novels by 19th century authors such as German Karl May and the American James Fenimore Cooper, who penned The Last of the Mohicans, one of the most widely read American novels of that time. All the movies I watched were shown at cinema theaters, not on TV. I never knew why. The movies starred mainly Gojko Mitic, a Serbian director, actor, stuntman, and author living in Berlin. Because he played so many such roles, he became known as the Chief Indian of the USSR. I recall him playing such roles as Chingachgook, Ulsana, and Tecumseh, among others. These movies were known as Red Westerns or Borscht Westerns. They are often compared to spaghetti westerns because they use local scenery to substitute for the American West. Where they differ, however, is in the Red Western's portrayal of Native Americans as the heroes, rather than white settlers, as in John Ford's Westerns. There was pretty solid ideological reasoning for inundating us with movies featuring fake German Apaches and Comanches. For one thing, East Germany, of course, was easily controllable from Moscow. For another, the storylines fit the Communist Party line. The heroes were the oppressed Indians, representing the working class, while the cowboys were the villains, representing the evil capitalists. Hopefully, Western audiences are able to notice the signs of subliminal communist propaganda here. In addition to the Red Westerns set in America, we also had movies about the Russian armed forces, an example of sheer Russian chauvinism. If it were otherwise, those movies would have starred Soviet armed forces and included other nations, such as Latvia, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and etc. No, the intention clearly was to emphasize the dominance of that damned imperia. These movies were mainly about World War II, known as the Great Patriotic War, and how glorious and ever victorious the Russian Red Army was in battling the evil Germans. The only Hollywood film I saw in my younger days was McKenna's Gold. That was in 1970, when I was only 10 years old and still too young to analyze anything. We were easily influenced. Children who knew nothing about any other way of life and no way of finding out. In those days, there was of course no internet and only Soviet newspapers, in some ways like Russia today. Much later, I discovered that this movie, McKenna's Gold, had been completely appropriated by the powerful USSR propaganda system to spread Sovok values, namely disdain for the business class, organized religion, in particular Christianity, and the idea of the American dream and its related ethics. In the late 1980s, things began to change, starting with Gorbachev's perestroika. Now movies like Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, and Terminator, and actors like Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt, and Angelina Jolie are known to everybody in the former Soviet Union, including my home country of Ukraine. And these days movies can be seen in cinemas and on TV, as well as every mobile device out there. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Victor's Vignettes, stories from the life of Viktor Sergeyev in Mykolaiv, Ukraine. You can find Viktor's original transcripts and commentary at his blog, Vignettes, Life in Ukraine. For audio archives and links, visit www.nashholos.com. So until next time, do побачення!
Курка, щупа, турка, вийде моє курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ой, служив я пана, та й друге літо, заслужив я пана, качечку за літо. А це качка дрито скаче, а та курка, щупа, турка, вийде моє курочка. Гуся, суся, суся, а та качка дрібно скаче, а та курка, чупа, турка, вийде моя курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ой, служив я пана, та й четверте літо, заслужив я пана, індика за літо, а то індик, тик-тик-тик, а те гуся, суся, суся, а те качка дрито скаче, а та курка, чуба, турка, вийде моя курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ой, служив я пана, та й на п'яте літо, заслужив я пана, барана за літо. А той баран дороги, а то індик, тик-тик-тик-тик, а ти гуся, суся, суся, а ти качка дрито скаче, а ти курка, чупа, турка, вийде моя курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ой, служив я пана, та й на шосте літо, заслужив я пана, за літо. А ти як хвостем виє, а той баран крутороги, а той індик, тик-тик-тик-тик, а ти гуся, суся, суся, а ти качка дрібно скаче, а та курка, чупа, турка, вийде моя курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ой, служив я пана, та й на сьоме літо, заслужив я пана, дівчину за літо. А та дівка напилася, пала в нечі, запилася, а ти як хвостом віє, а той баран круторогий, а той індик, тик-тик-тик-тик, а ти гуся, суся, суся, а ти качка дрібно скаче, а ти курка, чупа, турка, вийде моя курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка. Ходить по садочку, курчаточок один, та й водить курочка.
From Edmonton, that was Millennia from their CD Bratia, which was their third, and a song about the chicken. Actually, it was kind of a Ukrainian version of Old MacDonald Had a Farm, made popular fairly recently, but kind of swept Ukraine by storm. First heard of it, Ukrainian language immersion camp in Saskatchewan, probably about 10 years ago now. Lots of fun. Millennia with Kurochka. Ciudenu była z wami Pawlina. Nahadую wysłuchajcie radioprogramu Nash Holos, radio naszego korenia. Na chwili CHLY 101,7 FM u mieście Nanaimo. Залишайтеся з нами наступну годину. Далі передаю мікрофону Оксані. Запрошую послухати трохи про історію і традиції, розповість Оксана. Але перед тим я хочу залишити вас такими словами мудрості. Не витягай дурного з біди, бо він тебе в неї затягне. And our proverb of the week translates as, do not try to pull a fool out of trouble, as he will drag you in with him. And that brings us to the end of the first hour of Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio here on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo. Please stay with us as Oksana takes over the microphone to host the next hour. Meanwhile, please join me here again next Wednesday from 11 a.m. till 12 noon. And until then, do stay in touch with both of us via our Facebook page and Twitter. In between broadcasts, please visit us online where you'll find transcripts and audio archives, as well as the podcast feed, and that's www.nashholos.com. You can also find Nash Holos on Mixcloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and other podcast places, and of course, on your favorite podcast app. So stay tuned next for the Nash Holos Ukrainian Hour with Oksana, followed by Wellness Wednesday to learn how to be healthy naturally. And at 2 p.m., join Gord Bibby for 2 hours of great oldies on Groovin' with Bibby G. I'm Pavlina. Thanks so much for listening. Do zустрічі.